Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Welcome to Startup Grind in Bali. How is everyone? Oh, that's not very good. How is everyone? Really excited to have you all here tonight. We've got some amazing guests that Roger will be introducing soon. My name is Terry Billington. I'm the Global Lead Facilitator for a program in Vision Villas, which is one of Roger's programs, and it's called iLab. So we have a group full of iLabians that are here that are in there. Yay! They're very excited, as you can tell, who are in the second half of the second... They're in this 10 days into a 15-day program is what I'm trying to say. So excited for them to be part of it. They've been very blessed because Fraser and Nadine, who Roger will introduce in a moment, these guys are already blessed to have experienced them as part of the program. But really excited to have you all here, and so as to not keep you in suspense, I'd like to introduce Mr. Roger James Hamilton and bring him up. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you. So for everyone, hands up who's been to a Startup Grind before? Startup Grind, okay, only a very small number of you. So for those who have not, Startup Grind was set up in LA. It was set up in, San Francisco first of all, then in LA, and it's now in 150 different cities around the world, and it's sponsored by Google. So Google has an organization within Google called Google for Entrepreneurs, which is to support entrepreneurs. And so we represent the Bali chapter. As you heard from Terry, we have got a resort, which is where we run all of our accelerator programs. This here is the Entrepreneur Beach Club, which opened just 3 months ago, and hopefully everyone's had a chance to taste the drinks or eat the food. This is all as a result of Simone and the team. Where's Simone? Simone's over there, our general manager. Can we give Simone a round of applause? Thank you, Simone. Come back often. This, by the way, is the first of 50 beach clubs we're opening. So we have this one as our first one we're opening. We also have got 5 resorts we're opening. The first one that we opened was here in Bali, and the second one we opened in, we're actually taking it over in South Africa, which is on a safari, and we're basically going to be running that in about 6 months' time as well. And so really, so much of what we stand for is if you're an entrepreneur that has a big global vision and you believe you can make a global impact at the same time that you want to be traveling around the world and have a business that allows you to do that, then that's really the kind of role model that we want to put forward. And so rather than bringing you 1 role model today, we're bringing you 2, because we have got, as you can see here, if anyone's read here, we have Fraser and Nadine, who both of them at the moment, and this little story here tells you a little bit about how they basically started from a different island, all the way over in Canada, and Vancouver Island is where they started from. They started a business there. They sold that business. It took them through a story which went from 2010 through to today, which we're going to hear. And you're going to have a chance to ask questions as well as we go through this. They have actually flown all the way down from Koh Samui in Thailand to be here, and they're here at the moment, and it sounds like they're actually going to be making Bali their next stop where they're going to be living for a while before heading on to Spain. So can we please give Fraser and Nadine a big round of applause? Come join me up here. Hi, guys.
Hi.
So let's do this. I'm going to just ask a bunch of questions, and then we'll see where the conversation goes, and then we'll open up for questions for everyone as well, right?
Sounds good. That's the best way to do it.
Awesome. How about we start way back? Shall we start in 2010? Is that a good place?
Yeah.
Do you want to share with everyone what you were doing before you made the step to start the business and why you started the business?
Yeah, so this is actually a good story. We really like this one. So Fraser and I first started dating when I had just announced that evening that I was going to get my real estate license. And Fraser had just was finishing his financial planning, but he was working at a bank. So we really started dating at the time that we began in our business relationships, or like our business careers. And so we were a couple years through that, and we decided... Hello? Oh. It turns out...
Test. Okay, do we have Shane here? Can we check out the sound on the microphone? Here, use this one for now.
Better? Thanks. Test? Yeah? Okay, we're good. Then it turns out that we weren't really cut out for the demands of always being the person that has to run your business. So we weren't cut out for always being that person that's called, so not being able to rely on a team. So that's when we started exploring other options. Fraser actually ended up getting a couple car accidents, and so that put him in a position where he was then at a technology company in Vancouver. So every week he would go over on a 2-hour ferry ride from Sunday to Friday to this other town. And he came to me with this idea, and he's like, hey, we need to start this business. And I'm going, I'm in real estate. I was so busy. I can't do this. He's like, you have to do this. So I dropped him off one Sunday at the ferry. He calls me 2 hours later, and he says, Nadine, I just worked out the numbers. I know we've been talking about this for like 3 weeks. We're doing it. And I'm on the ferry home. So I just quit my job, and we're on the way back. So let's go. So that was actually how we got started. So within 2 days after Fraser doing a double turnaround on the ferry, then we were telling our families, hey guys, so we're quitting our job. We're starting an internet company. By the way, we had no technical knowledge of how to do this whatsoever. So our families were concerned. They were very concerned with us and this idea that we had. And it took us 30 days from the time that we decided to quit our jobs to actually launch. It cost us a total of $4,000, and within 3 months we found ourselves to be self-profitable. But it wasn't just like, oh, that just happened. It turns out it was a lot of work, and with no technical knowledge, we launched a full-on digital company that required programmers and it required websites, but we just learned to start Googling it, and we were really motivated to do this. We were like, well, we're invested in this, so we need to make this happen, and we're gonna do this. So we just started Googling it, reaching out to people, asking a lot of questions, and within 30 days we launched. So January 2011 was our official launch date.
We're going to do the Bali thing and share a little piece of technology between three of us. So, so I'm gonna kind of like step back a little bit, because like the idea of starting something and getting going 1 month and making money and all that kind of stuff, that like, let's just step back into the backdrop of it. You set up a daily deals site. It was at exactly the same time that Groupon's was going crazy. So Groupon was that was the very, very time when everyone was going crazy with that. So do you want to just share, Fraser, what was the thought process which made you think now's the time and here's where we need to do that? Because you obviously knew that whole story and were watching that as well, right?
Yeah. Well, there's not many times in history has someone been able to make money selling air. We didn't have to have inventory, we didn't have to have employees, and we got out and did all the sales ourselves. So for the island that we live on had about close to 1 million people, and Vancouver was the closest big city. So we saw this trend of Groupon coming when it was hitting larger cities across Canada. But the problem with Groupon was that they weren't having local salespeople, and they weren't harnessing the power of social media. They might have a global platform, but they weren't targeting specific deals to certain clients. So we were able to beat them to market. And by beating them to market, we grew so big so quickly that on our island, which was our own niche territory, nobody knew who Groupon was. When they did come, we sold them by 2 or 3 times, got the best deals, and everyone was scared to mess with us because they wanted to support local businesses. And we had made a clientele, and we had made a brand. So the reason we got in, and one of the main things that we did it was that we actually did all the sales. So I was literally walking down the street with flyers. We didn't even have business cards, walking into stores, walking into businesses, just literally getting out there and pushing the pavement. So after a year, when we were able to hire someone and we were starting to grow exponentially, it was straight up just because everything that we did was only from outsourcing several web development tasks, and it was all from just getting out there and making things happen.
So what was the motivation to start? Was it because you thought that you'd actually be an acquisition target for Groupon? Is it because you thought they had a good model and you could see that it could work for you as well? I mean, what was from the point of view that you couldn't do the same thing today because daily deals have moved on, but there's other things that could happen today, right? So like here in Indonesia, in the last year, we've seen 3 unicorns. But they're all doing exactly the same thing. So Gojek, for example, has been inspired by Uber, and Traveloka has been inspired by the Expedias and the TripAdvisors, and the third one, which is with Traveloka, and Tokopedia, which is basically 100% inspired by Alibaba. They basically are saying, well, we'll just follow the model, and we'll do it in, and that's for Indonesia, which is like as big as America now in terms of population. But so you started and you said, right, that, we could do something here. But was there already a thought process as to how you were going to exit?
Yeah. So originally we didn't want to exit. We actually, well, everybody wants an exit, but we were in the business of crowd building. So in a matter of no time at all, we had 50,000 email subscribers and 50,000 Facebook fans. And for a smaller geographic region, we were able to do everything from promoting events and offering other services, selling digital. And one of the main things that we actually did when we launched was that we actually had all of the other competitors' deals on our websites, and we had signed affiliate deals with these companies. And so after about 2 years, we took all of them off there because we were getting the businesses anyways. But the biggest way was how we could work with the other people in our space and build up such a community and build up such an email list that no matter what we wanted to do, we couldn't fail. And that is also revolved us around doing a Christmas show. So our first year, if we weren't busy enough, the two of us, we went off and rented a big auditorium, and we decided that we were going to do something called the Approved Christmas Sale. So we had 100 booths to sell, and what we did is we turned an e-commerce platform into an actual retail brick and mortar. So back in 2011, everybody didn't have squares and they didn't have readers. So we went off, got a payment terminal, gave everybody 3-sided receipts, and we promoted out to our email database, and we sold Christmas expos. So for all these 100 businesses at the event, the average person did $1,500 in sales just from our tills. That wasn't including what they did out of it and afterwards. And so every person was more than able to 3 times cover the value of their booth, and we were able to spread into other different business ventures just by owning the crowd and just by having that huge, massive email list and social media following.
So what was the biggest challenge as you were going through that whole process, or did you find it surprisingly easy?
No. That would be really lying if I said it was easy. The biggest challenge, I think, and especially it's really top of mind looking back on it, the biggest challenge would have to be maintaining work-life balance. We went full on in, and so we were working all the time, and so being able to balance our personal lives with our work lives was the biggest challenge, because it was a lot of work and we were determined to do it. So we did it, and we did whatever it took to do that. But we didn't keep our own selves as part of that process. So when we found ourselves free, I guess you could say, a year ago, we were like, whoa, where are we? So it's a little bit of a process to get back. That was probably the biggest challenge out of everything.
So let's talk about that, right? So because I'd love to walk through that next process you went through, because there's people here doing exactly that same thing now, although they kind of came out to a place like Bali first and got a lifestyle while also growing a business. You were there in Canada, you got the thing going. It was 2010 to 2015, for 5 years. Then you had an opportunity to sell the business. I'd love you to go through that thought process of, was it a conscious decision to sell, or did an opportunity just show up? And then how did you go about deciding it was the right time, and then deciding what you're going to do next?
So during the process, one of the things that we did is we tried to grow too big too quickly. So when everybody was asking us for, we had one extremely profitable business, instead of just focusing on that, automating it and creating a lifestyle, we said, well, let's go open up a company in India. So we hired 30 full-time developers in India. We decided to go full on everything that we had to do. So we were in India. Nadine was in India twice, in Mumbai, and I was in there once, and we were actually directors on the account. So I know a lot of people say they have web development companies, but we were literally the directors. We had bank accounts, we had corporations, and so instead of just focusing on the one really profitable aspect of our business, we were spending so much time focusing on growing different angles and really needed to sit down to the strategic marketing part. So instead of just traveling around and automating everything, we decided to go too big too quickly.
And I think when we decided to sell, it was not exactly we're going to sell. It just was, I think, time, and it just happened. We were kind of consciously starting to move towards this idea, we need to do this, and then all of a sudden, as we're starting to think about that, the world just worked, and then we found a buyer in our lap, and within 30 days, it happened. And we're like, whoa. So when it was hard the next day, though, because we went into the office and all of a sudden it wasn't ours, and they were like, okay, you guys can go now. What?
And what about the India like the team there, did they take on the team as well? And how did that go?
We ended up selling the India team to a separate separate company, and we knew ahead of time that we wanted to get out of that one because, again, too big, too fast, and it would turn out to be a headache. And that was when we started really realigning our core values of what we wanted in life. And
And this is one of the biggest lessons for everybody out there, is that it's one thing to do a consulting service where, you know, each client is different. You have to provide them with different prices and different packages. But if there's a way that you can automate one single product, it's going to save you so much time. You can outsource that. Your employees can handle it because you don't have 10 different questions. You're not the one that's running the business. And so when we were doing the huge company and we were providing personal quotes for everybody, we said, you know what? We need to get back at what we do best, and we need to grow another scalable company from developing a new kind of software, a new kind of technology, or from growing a huge community.
Okay, so that's the next question, right? When you go, okay, so we've had this first success, and you see a lot of people do this in Europe and in America, I'm sure in Canada as well. They'll go straight off that first success, and then they'll get itchy because I'm sure you had lots of other ideas of businesses while you're doing the first one to go, right, I'm going to get on the second one. And often they'll go jump right into the second one, or they'll start investing in other companies as well. You obviously took a whole different route, which is how you ended up over in Asia. So was that already something you'd been talking about to say, hey, here's what we'll do next? Or was that also quite a spur of the moment thing? How did that show up?
it definitely wasn't spur of the moment. It was something that we had problems in our digital marketing part of our first business. We experienced a problem when we thought, hey, you know what? We can do this better. We can fill this need. We had countless problems with developers and developing our websites and hosting and whatnot. So we thought, you know what? We can do this better. We've been doing this ourselves, and the problem in the development industry is that a lot of people that are out there talking about what they've done in digital marketing, they've never actually run their own business before. They've never actually made their own business successful off of digital marketing. So that was where we saw like a really big problem with the market. Hey, we can do this better. So that's where the flow of our first company into a digital marketing agency, it made sense. And then we ended up having teams. Everything really, in our lives is just kind of when it was the right time, it happened. But a part of it was also, hey, we were very successful in our first, let's see where else we can go. And I think it also had a little bit to do, like, with being totally honest now, it definitely had a little bit to do with getting bored of the first one. We were successful and we're like, hey, we did this. And then you're kind of bored, weirdly enough.
2 years on the same thing.
Right?
But then you went through a massive lifestyle change, right? I mean, you went from Vancouver Island out to Koh Samui and then Bali and traveling around. So that's a major shift as well, because you would have had a whole group of people that were already your community and people that you were with as well. So that's a change of values, right? It's like, okay, so we're going from building this whole thing and making it happen to, okay, we're going to realign. When do you think, and for everyone here, obviously everyone here has chosen to be in Bali, which is why we're here. But if there's ever that question mark of like, well, how much should I actually be thinking? Maybe I should go to Singapore or New York or somewhere else because the business has got to that size, and there's those kind of grappling things that we're going through. You actually went from that Island Daily Deals company to really the brand really you're working with now is the Laptop Warrior, right? Like in terms of a brand which is standing for something new. What would you share in terms of your experience and the advice you'd give to others that are going through that same kind of like pull of different values at the moment as to how to make those decisions?
This is a really good one here, because one thing is that after selling our businesses, most people are out there posting about things, bragging about their things. Well, Nadine and I decided to do the opposite. We never actually posted publicly that we had sold. A lot of our friends didn't know, extended family didn't know, and other than doing this and one other event, we've never actually spoken out in the real world about this. So we came to that point where we needed to figure out who we really were. We had this awesome opportunity to take what we used to believe in, what our mindset, and we got to completely do a 360. So after selling the company, we decided that there was no more geographic boundaries, that we were going to focus on a new business, that we were going to make health so important. And one of the first things that we did is pretty much a 2-month detox, where we went to deep in the Himalayan mountains in Nepal for a 30-day yoga instructor course, and then the two of us hiked the highest land pass in the world with no guide guides or porters the Annapurna circuit. And it was just because we still had to get out there and find ourselves, and so we still do. We've been secretly actually working on several businesses for the last year here, and we haven't launched them yet. And I know it's kind of funny that we say in our presentations to everybody that you don't wait till you have the perfect product, but we were waiting for the perfect time. So the main thing about that, when everyone is thinking about how their mindset is, and all the troubles that entrepreneurs face with. We all feel it, and you're able to have the chance every day you wake up to reinvent yourself. I think you said that a little bit earlier, but it was a good line, so I should say. So every day you wake up with a new chance to reinvent yourself, and we had the ultimate opportunity to do this. And like this year, it's funny when we had our old speaking pictures up there. I personally lost 40 pounds this year. We went vegetarian. I got involved in yoga, and I completely changed my whole lifestyle, my diet, my health, my weight training around to the point where we went to our doctors. Our doctors gave us a blood test, and he made me come in there for these things because he's like, your blood pressure is so low now. It's like you're a triathlon runner right now, and it actually worried him. So everyone can get out there and reinvent themselves. And if you're thinking about the opportunity to step away from your business, the only real way that you can really grow your business is to actually look at it from the outside. And that's why it's really fun for us now to give people advice, because when you're in that midst of it, it's so hard to actually accept it. So I give every person that's coming to Bali and coming to these areas to actually step outside their business for 2 weeks and just let it run itself. It's a game changer.
Yeah, and we didn't own a backpack before we decided to climb that mountain.
All right, so let's get onto some real kind of nitty-gritty pieces, because that's the story. Pretty cool story, right? I mean, like, what's really interesting about the story is everyone's listening to the story, and this might be one of the reasons you weren't just out there sharing for everyone the story, and they all have different, and it's the same with all of us. Any one of us has got a story. Everyone will come in with judgment on that story. So I want to talk about two things which I think are something that everyone, especially in a beautiful place like Bali, grapple with. One is hustle, one is luck, right? So there's quite a few people in America, and Europe's the same, who pride their entrepreneurial drive on hustle. It's like work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard. If you're not working hard enough, you're not doing something wrong. And so it's almost like everyone's like, I gotta work really hard. And so the whole idea of even going to the Himalayas or to, like relax in Bali is like, well, that doesn't feel like that's cheating, right? It's kind of like you shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. So there's an element on hustle. I'd love to have your sense, because it sounded like you were really hustling when you got going as well. So where does that fit in terms of finding your flow compared to just going with it? There's a second part which I think interrelates with this, which is luck, because as you know, like the whole daily deals came and went, right? I mean, like this month, November, Groupon's just announced they went from like 27 countries down to 15. They've like get cut by half. As you know, like founder of Groupon got thrown out. Because he almost waited too long, right? Whereas you guys exited at the right time. And as you said, it wasn't really a conscious decision, but maybe there was a sense of it somehow. And lots of people have different definitions of what luck is, but there's no question people might look at your story and go, well, that was pretty lucky that you got in at the right time, you got out at the right time. But I'd love to have your take on both those two things, and to what extent, after the Himalayas and after all the self-reflection and after spending time in Asia, you see those things differently as well in terms of how you'd be running your next business or looking at next opportunities.
What's our company motto?
Okay, well, first of all, our company motto, and what it has been actually for a long time and still remains today, even after all of our reflections, is get shit done. And I think it has a little bit of a different meaning to us now, but it's still the same motto. It's just every time when we look up at, we start our days, we're like, what are we going to do? We're going to get shit done. And I think actually going through that and being in Asia has made it more motivating for us to continue what we're doing, to continue our business life. Because I don't know about you guys, but I really have loved traveling. However, I can't do anything more than 2 days before I get restless and we're going, hey, did we bring our laptops with us? Like, what are we doing? We can't go and look at any more temples, please, no. So the biggest takeaway, though, between the difference between then and now is that before we used to spend time from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. working our fingers to the bone and just not taking breaks. And we were just constantly like, I have to be working. I have to be doing this. I have to be working this project. I have to be there. And now we've shifted that to a focus on our time management, our focus, our energy level in terms of I'm going to work for X amount of time and I'm going to accomplish this, but I'm not going to work anything longer. And then later I'm going to feed my mind and feed my body. And that's where we've developed some of the better ideas by taking that time now in our new businesses going forward. We've been so much more creative. We've had a lot more opportunity to feed ourselves, to have the energy and the excitement. Literally during your speech today, Fraser's like, hey, you know what? This is like, I got this other idea that we need to add into our business. And then we're like, go away and we're all excited. We're like, hey, yeah, that was a good one. We need to do this. So it makes us more excited actually, because we're approaching our business in a different way, in a more eco-friendly way, I guess you could call it. Do you want to add anything onto that?
Sure. Yeah. And the main thing is we absolutely love it. You know, that it's one thing to get out there and try things, but we absolutely love it. And you know, we're together. A lot of people, you know, it's one thing to not only to have the love of your life, but to also work with her all day. So if something is stressful that's happening, you know, we would take it home. So it's like before we could never escape that negative mindset because it was the last thing that you would think about. So even when we weren't working. We couldn't enjoy those good moments because we had that negative roadblock that something might happen. What if that happens here? What if the site goes down? And coming from a bootstrap budget, we didn't have the people in place. We didn't have the time. We didn't have the money then to do it. And since we expanded so quickly, we could have done everything. But it is about getting more done faster, as efficiently as possible.
So we're going to open this up for questions, and I think there's a general theme, and it's kind of interesting because like this is called startup grind, right? Because the whole concept of grind is where Silicon Valley really kind of started with this whole thing. It's like just got to work hard, and we just get the pizza ins, and we'll keep on working hard. And so it's kind of a bit of a misnomer because we've got now these communities starting up in places like Bali, and I think everyone senses that there is definitely this kind of convergence that's happened where easily 5 years ago you could have found the people that might show up in a place like Bali and they might be what you'd call digital nomads, which means that they're actually putting their number one value is travel, number one value is freedom, and they would be a very different, distinct group from the people that saw themselves as social entrepreneurs, who are the ones that actually want to make an impact and say, I'm going to have to give up things like the travel and the lifestyle because it doesn't look good for me to be kind of swanning around, hanging out on the beach if I'm actually going to be helping, you know, people make a difference in the world. And then you had the tech entrepreneurs or the fast growth entrepreneurs who are the ones who are like, no, I'm the one who should be hustling and grinding and getting things going while those guys are doing that. But what's actually happened is all three have started merging, where you'd expect everyone to have all those values where they're balancing them all up nowadays because everyone's wanting to make an impact, wanting to grow something global, but also wanting to make sure they're actually, and that's what you guys are doing, right? I mean, that's where you're at too. But it's not like it's easy, right? And so let's open this up for any questions you might have for Fraser and Nadine and just start the conversation from wherever you happen to be right now. Who would like to ask a question? We actually, at the moment, in a very weird way, have only got one microphone, so we're going to be passing this around.
Okay, hi, my name is Welly. I'm Indonesian. I live in Denpasar. So, what I would like to know is, do you have a plan to start a business or maybe internet business in Bali, or what do you plan for Bali? Do you have any idea what to do? Because I still think that still lots of chances that we can build here. Because just like Roger said, Tokopedia and Traveloka all copied the American or other countries. So that's it.
Well, no longer is your competitor, next door. Your competitor is just a click away from you. So whatever business that you want to do in Bali, you can do all over the place. And you look at a lot of the people that have come here today, they're not from Bali. We're from all over the place. And so definitely when we look at what's happening in Bali, it is going to have a lot of tech entrepreneurs come here. Conglomerates are going to go and form, and which young entrepreneurs in that area are going to build the next great thing. So there is going to, technology is never going to go away, and innovation is going to go away. And if anything, we're going to be experiencing another incremental growth like we've never had before. You know, we're sitting there all talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, and you know that's going to be the big game changer that comes in, and the robotics. So, you know what? There's no reason to do a business just in Bali. You know, that Bali business is going to be doing business all over the world, and you know we're just choosing to. What we're mostly doing is working on a content generation right now. So we're making tons of videos, and you know, for us to be in that creative space, you know, we just think that this is, you know, a truly amazing place to be creative.
Yeah, we're thinking of moving to Bali because we really love it here. Bali has been really great. Koh Samui has been really great too. We visited a lot of awesome places. So honestly, it's really hard to make a decision on where we want to go next. But I think for us personally, yeah, we're focusing on more of a global business, but that doesn't mean that when you're looking at something that you've seen in another country and that's done really well, that you can't say, hey, you know what, there's an opportunity here for me to develop that in where I come from in Bali, or where I'm traveling to next in Bali. And that's essentially what we did when we opened our first business, Island Daily Deals. Like, we saw Groupon was really successful in other markets. We saw that wasn't happening in a market that had 1 million population. So that's why we started it there. So you can look at trends in other places and say, yeah, you know what, I can do something similar here. Like the Gex, I think it is, the Gecko that's available here. That is something that, you know, is a spin-off of Gojek. Yeah, I love that. I really wish that they had it in Koh Samui. I was so bummed when I came here and I downloaded it and I went home. I was like, oh. So anyways, that's just an example of when you see something that's going really well in another place, but it's not available in your area, that's where you can bring that need to your local area. Yeah.
Another question?
Hello, it's Tomasz. I'm a software engineer from Poland. So you've mentioned issues or problems with software development or software developers, engineers, and it's all changing every month, every year now. So what's your current approach to software development, and what's your idea to make it efficient and perhaps making your new way or new startup going exponential because of the software as well? Yeah, thanks.
And Thomas is specializing in VR, AR software development.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. Okay, so when we had problems, I'll tell everybody a little story. This one was funny. So we went through about 4 or 5 different development companies or developers, and we didn't know programming at the time. We didn't know any of the technical language that people were telling us. We knew what we needed. We knew what sales tools we needed in our website, but we didn't know how to actually code it. We had a custom website, so we required developers. We found that there was always a lack of customer service, and we even went through the experience of when we had a developer, he actually he stopped returning our phone calls one day. And we're e-commerce business, so we needed like constant, you know, if something happens, you need to be there. And so he stopped returning our phone calls, and he called us back 3 days later. We're like, what? Where were you for 3 days? He goes, well, I was at a conference trying to get other customers. We're like, well, do you have any other team members working for you? He's like, no, I just let go of the other guy. It's just me. Well, then why are you trying to get new business? You can't call me back after 3 days. So needless to say, after about 3 weeks of giving him the benefit of the doubt and trying to get him to do work, I'm like, I really want to pay you. Can you please do my work? And I couldn't get it. I couldn't get done because he was off doing sales calls. So anyways, we ended up moving on to another firm. And of course, like, that's a hard process because this guy was a really nice guy. We liked him, but business is business. I need to have the website have a reliable developer. So we moved on. Then what happened was that our competitor at the time approached him, offered to pay him a bit of money, and then a little bit more money. And so he then told our competitor exactly everything that we were working on developing, what our local projects were, and it turns out we learned the really hard way on that one that you need to have a privacy agreement. So that was one of our problems that we experienced. That when we talked about problems, like that was one of the big things that we really were like, oh my god. And then now going forward, I'll let Fraser answer that part.
Also, what's the first rule of software development? It always takes longer and costs more than we all expected. And that's one of the major things out there. So there are many different companies that are absolutely good at what they do, but it's also disheartening when I turn around and I look at the Play Store every time I get a good idea, and then I'm going to develop this app, Nadine, and it's already been out there developed. So what we are changing towards more is how to master the ultimate flow of content. Every business needs content. It's happening more and more and more. And so what we're going to be doing in the future and what we are doing is more revolving around the content generation business. Yeah, and also, we'll also be launching within about next month here. We actually have a new series coming out, and it's kind of a little ironic on the industry, but it's called How to Fire Your Web Developer. And what we do on here is we're giving away all the different, we've spent a couple hundred hours developing this, and we tell all the secrets that non-programmers use to be able to build the ultimate sales funnels and WordPress websites with no technical skills required.
I'm Eiji, filmmaker from Japan. As location-independent entrepreneurs, do you plan to register your new company in Canada this time, or because of tax, implication, do you consider the countries to register your company in?
We love tax and accounting questions are my favorite. Right now we are Canadian Corp, and then that corp will own dividends and shares in other the corps that we created. But our India company was its own original one. So there's different rules depending per country, and it happens to be that Canada actually has very favorable tax structure for companies. And not only that, but we are doing business out of Canada, so we are registered through there. We do pay ourselves through there, but when we're traveling if you're going to be going to events and you're going to be doing anything that's out to make income, then for a filmmaker, if you're out here in Bali shooting videos, then that's a tax write-off, right? There's just so much that you can do to from an accounting basis that right now we are just registered in Canada, but I hope one day to have to set up a company in Dubai or Singapore when you're going to pull in like $100 million sale or something like that.
Hi guys, I'm John. I'm producing a film about the richness in adversity, and my question is, what are some of the do's and don'ts about running affiliates? Thanks.
Okay, affiliates. It might be tempting when you see that Garcinia affiliate that pays you $90 for every customer that signs up for the free shipping option to get their first month order free, and then you get paid $90. Well, as an affiliate marketer, you're like, oh, that's awesome. I could get paid $90 and the customer gets a free product. But what you really got to look at is what that really means to the customer, because it really boils down to if you treat your customers well, then they'll treat you well. And so when you're looking at offers that have a whole bunch of, and there's a bunch of them in affiliate marketing, when they have a bunch of hidden agendas. So a lot of those type of affiliates, what they do is they will continue to charge the customer month after month. So it's an auto bill membership type system. So our rule of thumb is really like, do unto others what you would want done to yourself. And so those type of marketing techniques we tend to stay away from, because it just don't believe that. And then we actually only work on affiliate market products that we use ourselves. And that's kind of our rule and thumb. And that's kind of comes down to our core values.
You have affiliate for your company?
Yeah, for example, like we love ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is the best sales marketing tool, and so we have an affiliate for ClickFunnels because we suggest that product. That's what we use personally. But I wouldn't have an affiliate sign up for lead pages because I personally don't like lead pages. It didn't work well for me. So that's just an example of what we use rule of thumb.
But if you're asking as a filmmaker, will affiliates work well for you? That's one of the big questions out there because if you are expected, with affiliate marketing, you could either promote the product yourself or get someone else to promote it for you. And if you're promoting it yourself, then you could determine what your cost is per client. Like one of the big things that we see is a lot of people with information that are running online courses. They might sell a $1,000 course and they might pay someone anywhere from 40 to 80%. Well, with that, if you're going to pay someone $800 or $600 or $500 per sale, could you not generate clients cheaper on your own? Or on the other side, if you can reach out to influencers who already have big streams of traffic and then they're willing to promote your offer, it's going to probably come in cheaper. So if you're out there looking to get affiliates to sell your product for you, first of all, it's not a quantity game, it's a quality game. If you got 10 to 20 really good affiliates that are running similar offers on different sites that are willing to sell your products for you, and also the next question is, it's only worth to do affiliates if your product is 100% automated. If you have to pick up the phone call to talk to the clients and it's not a click of a button, then it's not worth doing an affiliate run system.
Hello, my name is Dinara. I'm from Russia, and I have a question for you. How do you get your shit done? Do you have any systems in place, and how do you actually manage your remote teams as well? Thank you.
How much time do we have? We'll do this one as quickly as we
I guess we have a hard time because both of us are like, yes, I want to answer this, but I know Fraser's at the same boat as me. Okay, number one system there's really a couple that we'll recommend, but number one is Teamworks. It's a project management system. If you're not using a project management system for your business, go tomorrow, tonight, and sign one up. Teamworks is what we use personally, and we were talking about this actually from the legal point of view earlier in the course, because when you're talking about how much time you've invested in a business or how profitable you are in your business or how much time you've invested in a certain project of your business, you don't really know that if you're not tracking your time and you're not setting goals and how much tasks are required. So I'm a lord in terms of I'm like the analyzer and Fraser is the creator. So this comes from my own nerdiness, I guess you could say. But Teamworks, project management, and that also then works if you're going to have staff or if you're going to have freelancers or if you're going to have a development team come in and help you. You can set privacy rules, you can set up projects, you can set up milestones and goals. This also works out really handy when for example, with us, when our tax time rolled around and the accountants called up and they said, okay, well, you guys had this huge investment in this new project you were working on, and you expensed it. So do you have anything to back that up for the account or for the tax man? And we were like, yes, I do. I have all of this data of every hour that was spent on it. And so I use Teamworks every day. I use it for whatever task I'm doing. So if I'm doing a promotional thing, I put my time in as promotion. If I'm doing just emails, or if I'm doing logo designs, or if I'm creating a sales funnel, I track my time, because then at the end of the week, you can look back and you can say, hey, this is the project that I'm working on. How much time have I invested in it so far? And am I meeting my goals? How much farther do I have to go? Before we start a project, I always outline how much time it's going to take me. Then I know how I'm going to get shit done and how I need to accordingly plan and organize that. And then just two more tools. See, Fraser's just like, he's... Sorry, I'll talk her faster. A couple other tools are LastPass is awesome for tool management. Rescue Time is great for productivity. So track your own productivity. That one has saved me a huge amount of time and just made sure that I stayed productive. Plus, they even have a function that says get focused. So you can turn off all of the other stuff that's happening, all of the emails popping up, all of the social media popping up, and you can just turn it off on your computer. Your computer will not let you access those sites, and you can just get focused. And so, and just sit down and make sure that you give yourself the time to get shit done without anything else around.
So what Nadine was saying is with rescue time is that with our teams that and our personal, we use Teamworks because we could track how long we spend on each project. But for our teams, that we would always get them to run team rescue time in the background because it tracks how long they spend on each page. So if you're looking to hire freelancers on like Freelancer, on Upwork, on all these, they have the automatic screenshot indicators. And so that's one way that you can keep your team productive. But we would use rescue time because it would rank down how productive we were in a week. So when we had 4 of us, the 4 of us sat around a table every week, us and our team, and we said, wow, 4 of us spent 82 hours this week on emails. What the heck? Pick up the phone. And since there's only 4 of us, we're like, okay. So then we met next week, and we were able to get it down below 60 hours. And so one of the main things to do is you're working with people and you're managing them. It's not about, what you looked at Facebook for 30 seconds there. It's what are you spending your daily tasks on? And so the main tools that we would use, as Nadine said, are Teamworks, Rescue Time. We would use QuickBooks for accounting because it would sync in with the programs. And those were the real main time-saving programs that we used.
Hi guys. So I love the fact that you're a Lord and you're a creator, right? So I used to have a partner who was also somebody I was married to, and I'm pretty sure he was the Lord, and I was the Lord. So there was a lot of systems and great systems, but marketing was, not happening. So can you tell me about the division of work between you two, and how does it work on a daily basis? Do you even have to talk about it, or is it just natural that you do this and you do what you love and you do what you love and everything just works so smoothly? Because I also know that I also get along with Lords really well because we understand each other. So are there conflicts between the styles? Well, I have a software company. Actually, the iLab people, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Talking about managing remote teams. Slightly different tools, but same ideas, more in detail. I have a software company. I've been managing remote teams since 2001, right? And but the problem I had with always the partners I had, before I knew about the wealth dynamics, I always chose partners who were like me. And from now on, it's going to be like partners who are the opposite of me, because that's what I really need to complement me, I did fine because we can always hire people, right? But when it comes to partners, it would be good to have somebody on the opposite side of the...
So what we do with great is, as a creator side, I'm awesome at getting the first 90% of all projects done. Then I like to, what's the old saying that it takes 90% of the time to finish the last 10% of the project. So usually I'm the one that is, I was typically the one that would handle the sales and the customers and, laying out the tasks and, thinking about the ideas. And so we would always go and say, so for instance, a software client or web development client, I would lay out the pages, I would put the comments in there, I'd send it over to Nadine, and then she would take my creative side and then she would, create all the tasks in the teamwork system there. And then she would write detailed notes and she would send it to that. So I was always in charge more of the sales and marketing, and she was in charge of the accounting and making sure that all the controlling aspects were done. So we always joke about it because I always feel like I didn't even know how stuff got paid. I didn't even know what our bank accounts were, but that was the role. It's like I was in charge of getting the business and I would just step away. And I was a person that I don't like to follow up. I'm that person that needs to be a leader, that needs to inspire people. And I just, I really learned, Nadine and them would tell me my ways, and they'd be like, Fraser, you shouldn't be in this role. So she's the one as the Lord that really makes sure that everything gets done.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have worked as well in our process if we'd just been both creators or both lords. I think it would have presented a challenge because it has worked very well for Fraser being the creative inspirer, and we're both Geminis, so we're both still pretty outgoing. We both still share a lot of same qualities, but being that I'm the more analytical lord, it allows me to actually take what he's got and say, okay, this is how we're going to implement it. And then also, not only that, but when we're brainstorming new ideas, he's great at coming up with like the creativity of like this is this is a new idea, or this is what we should do for this, or this is the marketing. And then I can look at it and go, wait, but that's the logistical part of why this will or will not work. So it works really well to have the two different personality types working together.
A little bit of the yin and the yang.
Yin and the yang.
Thanks everyone for the questions, and we're just going to finish with a few questions, and then we're going to have a chance to connect and network, and obviously we're all here to continue the conversation as well. The first question of my last two is, just 2 weeks ago, whilst you have taken the decision to leave Canada for a while, your Canadian website for people wanting to move to Canada crashed on the day of the US election results. And so we're all out this side of the world kind of just watching what's happening with, Donald Trump and the whole angst coming out of America. And here you are, like on the other side of the world, where your home you don't have a wall getting built there, but you still got time to build one. But there's no Mexican. So you're watching all this, you're seeing all this. I'd love to just hear for anyone here. Everyone's got different views. Some people think, well, it's not going to affect us, it's no big deal. Others going, wow, this is actually a major issue for the whole technology industry and so on. What's your individual or same views on just what's going to happen based on America?
All right. This is something that at first we all thought it was a joke. And then a couple months later, it got really serious, and then he got into power. So one of the stories that we were like in Canada, we were absolutely shocked by this. But there is such a different. I shouldn't talk about the president. Yeah. But we actually took a short out on the S&P stock market on the day after the election. We knew that the polls were very favorable, and we thought, well, this is a time for entrepreneurs to think, what is going to be affected? What is going to be a change? Well, luckily we sold the share at the end of the first day, and we didn't lose too much money because it was turned out to be the biggest bounce back ever. And the main thing with Trump is that what is going to be the sectors that do really well with him? What are the sectors that are going to change by him? And how is he going to? And what is going to be affected by this world? So if you think about, even though those stocks did well, what other stocks did really well? And what really, from a technology perspective, the companies that were hurt, that started to bounce back, were Apple, were Google, were some of the people that were worried about how the security was handled. But I personally don't think that much is going to change, and it's different. It's going to be a different atmosphere, though.
Yeah, I think, that's a kind of a tough question. I mean, we're worried about our world, really. I think maybe my biggest input to that is not, yes, it has had a big impact so far on technology companies. They've suffered a huge hit in terms of their stocks, but I think it's quite new since the North American trade agreement is going to be ripped up. Apparently, there might be a wall between us and Canada. Like, that's a big deal. This is big things that are happening. But from my perspective, at least, I've seen a lot about what people's reactions have been in terms of their actions, and that's where it's really struck a thread in terms of, I've seen some of the saddest acts of like assault on women, assault on people that aren't American citizens, and some really hateful words and actions that have started to spread. And we'll welcome any good people.
All right, and my last question, which kind of leads on a little bit from that, because I think there's I think every country obviously is very different. I think it's very interesting here in Indonesia, because everything from buying land through to starting a business, with the government and the way the government is in Indonesia, if you rely on the government for everything or for a high level of the success of the country, then you wouldn't have a lot of the entrepreneurial spirit you have today in Indonesia. So I think there's an element also where everyone goes, well, what's the difference I want to make? What's the legacy that I can leave, regardless of what the government may do or who's in power tomorrow? So that would be my last question: is what do you see for your legacy, for what you see as the difference you'll be leaving on the planet 100, 200 years from now, what's it for you?
So Nadine and I were having this huge talk about this, and after we were in a bubble. We lived on this beautiful island in Canada, and we never traveled the world. And after coming here, and a couple of weeks ago, we woke up in Koh Samui with this huge blanket of smoke that came over us, and they told us that it was from a lot of the fires that were burning in Indonesia. When we were in Mumbai, we saw 80 million people in an area that was pretty much the same size as our 800,000 back home. We're looking at what's happening to the world, and one of the things that we're really getting passionate about is global warming. We need to learn how to all get more efficient, and we went vegetarian. And one of the reasons we didn't go vegetarian was just for the rights of the animals, but we believe that with 7 billion people in this world, the only way that you can feed this amount of people is by adopting a plant-based lifestyle and changing around a lot of your consumer preferences, choosing the different companies that you support in the stock markets, or watching what Elon Musk and them are doing with Tesla and Powerwall and solar roofs and everything. So Germany, Sweden, there's so many other countries that are leading what we are doing right now. And so those were kind of a few about our passions. Actually, what is our core business that we haven't launched yet is actually this exact same thing. So.
Yeah, and as an interesting point, I was discussing with somebody, we in Canada have never had the problem of the whiteouts, I guess you could say. So we woke up in Koh Samui just a couple weeks ago, and there was like smog everywhere, and we're like, what is happening? Where did this come from? So we started going online and figuring out what was going on, and it turns out it's from the Indonesian fires that are like blanketing the Southeast Asia. And this is something that we've just learned about. And I'm talking to somebody, and they're like, really? You just heard about this now? I'm like, yeah, it turns out that there's like serious deforestations because of the palm oil industry. And they look at me, they're like, really? You just figured this out? I'm like, yeah. And in North America, like we don't hear about that because we don't have palm oil production. I just said this is something I've learned as a new thing. So along with deforestation and along from palm oils or palm oil production, and a lot of that from agriculture. That's kind of the new passion that we've got going. So we're in the process right now figuring out how we're going to integrate that into a new business, because it's definitely something that I think that information needs to be shared on.
One other passion that we really tried to make a difference on, it was called We Vote Canada. We tried to come up with a whole election-themed website that was revolving around voting on issues, and the whole different idea about how if we brought everyone to vote online, what that would change. So we spent all this time, all this money, all this effort, all these times to launch it, but guess what? Nobody cared. Nobody cared on political things, because everybody will post about things and they'll complain about things, but when it's actually time to make a difference, there's very few people that will get up to there to try to make a difference. And that's what I absolutely love what you guys are doing with the entrepreneurs and the 1%ers out there, people that are like us, that are out there trying to actually make a difference. And so our new company actually is called, as a plant-based it's actually called, and we'll be launching that within about a month or two. And it's all about how we can also, through switching our lifestyles around, save the amount of water that somebody saves, and the amount of what it would do for the world. We could solve all the hunger crisis. We can just drastically change global warming, because it's something that that we're actually passionate about. We don't preach about it, but there's a lot of things that need to get done, and if we don't make those changes soon, then it's going to be too late.
Yeah, I have to share this. I recently just learned that eating a hamburger is equivalent to 2 months worth of showering in water.
And so people are buying low-flow toilets.
So change your taps. No, it's absolutely crazy. So some of the stats that I've recently learned they've changed us, and we can't go back, unfortunately. I did like a burger every once in a while, but
I want to say a huge thank you to both of you for just being so generous in your sharing, and actually just making the trip out here and being here. And we are looking forward to having you here in Bali as well. So could we please give Fraser and Nadine a really big round of applause for your sharing?